Hi, and welcome back. It's day 4 of the Hone Your Inner Compass Challenge, and I am Jessica Graham Robinson, your host and owner of SacredSpaceHealingArts.com. Today's challenge is feel your feelings. And so the thing about it is most of us have a good bit of kind of stuffed away emotions and maybe even some trauma based around the fact that we had to stuff our feelings down, that at some point we were told that we were unacceptable when we have those feelings, right? So if you can imagine yourself as a child, all parents and even myself, like we're not always responding in the very best way that is best for our children. And so it's gonna happen, and it has happened, probably has happened in your life, that you were at some point told that you were unacceptable, not your behavior. So now, we are learning to make that distinguish between the two of those things, to make that different, so that you let your kid know, like, that behavior is not okay, but I love you and you are okay, right? The emotion is okay, but what you do with it, that might not be okay. So part of the work now, as we begin to acknowledge our feelings, is to accept them and to accept yourself while you're having that feeling. We've been taught that certain feelings are great: happiness, excitement, passion, joy, laughter, or not laughter, but humor. There's certain emotions that are more acceptable in our society. That's pretty well known. And anger, fear, certain kinds of frustration, anxiety, depression, sadness, these kinds of emotions aren't really accepted. But guess what? They're normal. You are normal for having these. What's not normal is that this is the norm. The norm nowadays is that you feel something uncomfortable and you think, I shouldn't be feeling this. And then you stuff it away, or you pretend it doesn't exist. But it does, and it didn't go anywhere because it didn't get acknowledged. A lot of times emotions only need to be acknowledged. You don't have to do something about them, but they need to be felt. So for instance, if something were to happen to you and it triggered like a giant anger inside of you, and then you didn't want to feel that anger and you pushed it away, what you've done is stored it so that another time in the future, when anger is triggered in you, or something that is frustrating triggers that deep-seated anger, then it's going to come out in an inappropriate way because you didn't allow it to happen in its own way. So have you ever noticed that the word emotion has the word motion in it? Emotions are meant to move through us. They're not meant to stay. I read something, it's been so long ago, I've forgotten what I read and exactly what it was, but it said something like, a true emotion, when you don't attach yourself to it, but you allow the emotion to come in and leave, only takes about 90 seconds. Right? Not months, not years, not even hours. And so the problem is when we try to push it aside, when we pretend that it doesn't exist, you're actually using mental energy and emotional energy to hold it back. Literally, like a dam, you're holding it back. Even though physically you're not doing anything, you are holding it back. And it's becoming more and more well known that emotions like trauma, anything that happens to us is stored in our bodies. Like we're not just a body, we're not just a mind. We are a multi-layered being. And anything that happens on one level of our beingness happens or affects the other layers as well. It's going to have an effect, just like when you eat something, it has an effect not just on your digestive system, but it has an effect on your mental clarity. It has an effect on your skin. It has an effect on your muscles, your memory, your all kinds of things. And so everything is going to affect your whole being, body, mind, spirit, heart, emotion, however many layers you want to acknowledge. There are lots of layers to us as human beings. And so when we experience an uncomfortable thought or emotion, because an uncomfortable thought, like a good example would be with anxiety or worry, right? You have this thing that's playing, this thought that's playing. What if this happens? Oh man, what if, like all these things play in your head. So those thoughts are like your mind running rampant because you're feeling something that you're not really acknowledging. So you feel like, so instead of letting the mind run, just feel like, whoa, I feel really worried about this. I have a lot of fear about whatever it is. And then you really just sit with it. You want to feel it, even though it's uncomfortable. I was explaining this to my almost 10-year-old today about how when we have uncomfortable feelings, any uncomfortable feeling or thought is almost like a red flag to pay attention, to examine it. Like a rock, like little rocks. Like you see a rock and you think, oh, that's just something for me to trip over. But no, actually there's a treasure inside. So when you have that emotion, you turn it over and you examine it and you feel it and you sit with it. And you could be sad about it. It might be that you experience some sadness around the fact that you haven't been allowing your whole self to be present. You haven't been allowing all of these emotions. You haven't been caring for yourself in that way. And that's okay. That's one step on the road, right, to getting back to a place where you can allow and feel and let the emotions move through you and even process some of those bigger emotions that are coming from the past. So now I'm going to offer you a technique. Today, first of all, your challenge is to feel your feelings. So that means as you're going about your day, let's say you wake up in the morning. How do you feel? Check in. Check in with how you feel. Honestly. So how you feel is never good. I feel good. That's not a feeling, right? There are specific feelings, and you can look back at the worksheet to see some like feeling words so that you're not confusing the feeling words with the thinking words or just going back into the old pattern of like, I'm good, everything's fine. Okay, because that's not really getting there. So you want to spend some time in the morning, if you can, when you wake up, or at some point throughout the day, depending on when you're listening to this or watching, is spending some time with yourself and really checking in internally. Like, what am I feeling? Oh, I am feeling a little pressured because of this, or a little overwhelmed because of that, and a little bit of regret because of that, and whatever it is. It's just important that we acknowledge them, because then they're free to go. The emotion is free to have motion. It's free to go. We don't want it stuck in our bodies. So I'm going to share a technique with you right now, and it's called, you may have heard of it, it's called tapping. It's called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's often just called tapping because the thing that you're doing is actually a tapping. So there are different points, and they're just like acupressure points in the body. So one of them is called the karate chop, or it's like this part of your hand. And so one way of tapping is here, either of these, right? Another is the top of the head, the crown of the head. I'm just showing you the points first. Another is the temples, lightly tapping, under the eyes, under the nose, under the lips, so on the chin, the chest, right, like above the breasts, like right here on the chest on both sides. One of them is underneath, kind of on the bra strap area, so either of those, right? So those are the ones that we're going to work with. And here's how it goes. Let's say you're having a negative feeling or a negative thought that's like running through your head, and you're feeling like you can't accept it. You're feeling just really thrown by it. Hard time getting past it, like on a scale of 1 to 10. This is another thing, you can rate it. You can ask yourself, like, this is really disturbing me right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, where is it? And then a 6. Let's just say it's a 6, which is not great, but not, an 8 or a 9 or a 10. And so what you would do is you would, let's say I'm going to use, I'm really disappointed with myself for yelling at my kids. I'm going to use that. I'm really disappointed at myself for yelling at my kids. So that's what's going on, okay? So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to say, I'm going to start with the karate chop point, and I would say, I'm really disappointed with myself for yelling at my kids, but I completely love and accept myself. Even though I'm really frustrated with myself for yelling at my kids, I completely love and accept myself. Even though I'm completely angry with myself for yelling at my kids, I love and accept myself completely. Even though I'm so mad at myself for doing that, I love and accept myself completely. Even though I know I can do better, I love and accept myself completely. Even though I'm still frustrated with myself for yelling at my kids, I love and accept myself completely. Even though I am really tired of yelling at my kids, I completely love and accept myself. Even though I have a lot of frustration and I get angry at my kids, I completely love and accept myself. Even though I am angry, I completely love and accept myself. And then you might check in. Or if you can still feel that emotion really kind of coursing through you, you keep going. And the dialogue might change a little. It might, like you saw how it morphed a little with me. Like it might change a little. You might change the way you word it, or something else might come up. But it is a dialogue in a way with yourself of what you're feeling, and stating that you love and accept yourself completely, even though you have some negative or uncomfortable thoughts or emotions. And you can keep going through this as much as you want, but when you're at a certain point, you stop and you check in again. And in most cases, wherever it was, let's say that was a 6 for me, it might be a 3 now, or a 2. Let's say something, like it was a 10 for me, it's going to come down. And it's a really cool technique to help you tap into your feelings, to help you accept yourself even through these. And it actually helps to soften, helps to allow the emotions to move out of you. And you might find that you're able to find a resolution more easily if you need one for a situation. Sometimes there is no resolution that's needed. Sometimes it's just an acceptance, and that is enough. An acceptance of yourself and of the emotions and of letting them go. So if you're not familiar with the idea of checking into your body, I'm gonna record an audio for you, like a little physical check-in, so that you can, kind of like a meditation, but just a body scan, check in with your feelings. So you can do that as well. It'll be another technique that you can use. This kind of stuff is not really well known in our culture. It's not promoted except in this, in this kind of realm, people who are looking for it, but it's not something that our popular culture supports or seems to care about, this emotional health. And so it's really important for us to bridge that to, if you want to be healthy and whole, then acknowledging all of what comes up for you. So any uncomfortable thoughts or feelings, just let it be a trigger. Oh, that's something I need to feel. It's something I need to examine. It's a rock left unturned, and there's a treasure waiting there. And the treasure is that you are coming full circle back to being able to accept yourself, to love yourself, even through those difficult emotions, to be able to take back from when you were a kid and you were told, you can't act like that. Yeah, you can. You get to have your emotions, and you're actually going to be better off. You're going to be kinder. You're going to have less triggers. You're going to find yourself being triggered less with the people that you love and in your life and work and relationships. So I hope this was helpful for you. Please comment in the forum and let me know how it goes. I'd love to hear. All right. Take care. Have a wonderful day.